What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. In this video we're gonna see how much money you actually save by doing your oil change yourself. Let's start this show. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Like I said in the beginning, today we're going to be doing an oil change, and we're going to see how much money we actually save doing it yourself compared to going to a shop to get it done, as well as how easy it is and how long it takes to do. I'm going to go down to the shop, buy the things I need, and pull the car in the garage, and we'll get started. I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright guys, so we're back from AutoZone from buying oil. More specific, I purchased some Pennzoil. I got a synthetic oil. Or going to any auto parts store, I believe they tell you what's specific to your car, what they recommend. But you could always go, if you know what you need, you could always go with whatever you want. You don't have to take their recommendations. They do recommend parts for you or brands for you, but it's all up to you, whatever you want to get. I go with Pennzoil. Mobile one is good too, but I've done Pennzoil for the life of the car, so I don't like switching up my oils. So I've always put Pennzoil synthetic. You could go whatever brand you feel comfortable with, but for the total of the cost for my oil and the filter, because some places you got to check, they do specials when you buy both. It might be more expensive just buying the oil by themselves. You might want to bundle your filter, so you might want to ask about that. Mine was a total of $34.95 after taxes, guys. So $34.95 when I usually, if I don't have the time, if I'm too busy and I need an oil change, I go to places like Jiffy Lube. A lot of people have horror stories about oil change spots, but there's good places and there's bad places. You just got to go with somewhere you trust, somewhere that they aren't going to push products on you. They try to upsell you by saying, oh, you need an oil transmission change, you need this, you need that. Make sure you look at your manuals to verify when you need specific things depending on the mileage of your car. Some places just like to push their products on you and upsell you something, but you got to be aware. But you got to be aware of the maintenance on your car, because maybe you do need it. It's not always a horror story. There's some places that do recommend things like maybe your brakes. A good way to know that you need brakes is if you start braking. Some brakes have a clip that starts making a noise. If you start hearing a screeching noise when you're braking, sometimes the clip is too close to the rotor, and that's a way to know that you might want to look to replace your brakes if you didn't know that. But today we're going to be changing the oil on my Acura ILX. It is a 2013, and I'm going to show you guys how difficult it is. Maybe it's something you would rather tackle yourself, or I don't know if you want to pay for someone to do it. Usually when I pay for a shop to do it, it's around $100 to $115, and sure, they do it fast, and doing it yourself, it might take a little bit more time, but honestly, it's an easy job. The only time that really takes the longest is going to buy the products, lifting the car up. The oil change itself, it's fairly quickly. It could be done in less than half an hour even if you're a beginner. And I'm going to show you the steps to change the oil on my daily driver, which is the Acura ILX, and see if maybe you want to tackle this. And just to clarify, guys, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not your mechanic. Do this at your own risk. I'm not liable for any damage that you might cause to your car. I am just a normal everyday guy showing you what I do to my car, and maybe if you decide to do it to yours, that's on you. And with that said, let's get started. Okay guys, with any job, the most important part is having the right tools. I have a floor jack and I have a jack stand, so I'm gonna get the car up so I could have some room to squeeze under there, because my car is kind of low. Maybe if you have an SUV, you don't even have to lift it up. Sometimes you could crawl under there. depending on the height of the vehicle. But my car's low, so I'm gonna lift it up and get started on the project. All right, guys, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is find the points to jack up your car. I know to some of you it might be really obvious, but maybe if you've never worked on a car, if this is your first time, we all have that first time when it's a learning point. I'm gonna show you guys a few ways to figure out which is your jacking point. So let's look under the car. So for sure, always make sure that you never put your jack on the painted part. It's never gonna be on a body panel. If you lift up your jack on a body part, it's gonna crush the body part and cause damage to your vehicle. It's always gonna look something like this. A reference point. Some places have a notch like this that stands out. It has an arrow, maybe a metal panel. You have to knock on it, make sure it's solid, and always test it out, make sure it doesn't collapse. And for my point, it's gonna be this, so I'm gonna go ahead and jack it up. All right, guys, the car's up on jack stands. Make sure whenever you're lifting your car, you have extra security. I put wood blocks in behind the tires so it doesn't roll back. You could put other stuff under the car to save it in case it falls from the jack stands. I have my jack still under there for a safety measure, and I'm okay with that. Make sure that you guys take precautions as well. You never know what can happen. It's called an accident for a reason. You don't plan for it, but make sure you have a safety net just in case something happens, that you don't get injured yourself. So you're gonna wanna identify where your oil cap is. Ours, for this type of vehicle, it's gonna be up here. It's also gonna say the type of oil you need up here, OW-20. I drove this car a little earlier. It was a little hot, so might have to wait a little while to undo the cap. Okay guys, once you make sure your car is secure up on the jack stands, usually there's markings in the engine. Like on ours, it says engine oil and it has an arrow pointing here. Usually some don't have the engine oil part, maybe they'll have an arrow, or you'll be able to identify maybe there's a oil leak residue from previous oil change or whatever have you. But make sure you have the right plug, and ours is identified by this marking right here. So go ahead and take this plug off. Make sure you have your drain pan ready, because it's going to be coming down fast, and you might want to consider if you've been driving it or not. It might be hot oil, so be careful with that too. So I'm going to go ahead and drain mine. Alright guys, so as you can see, it's still draining a little bit. I'm just gonna leave that draining while I take out the oil filter, and that's gonna be located down here. This is your oil filter, so you might need a rag to get a good grip on it and just twist it off. It should only take about 5 to 10 minutes to drain out the oil completely. I'm gonna take a break. I just got off work. I'm gonna eat some food and then go ahead, put everything back together, fill up the oil, and we're all done. Okay guys, so I just got done eating. I took a little break. I had just got off work. Now to finish the job, we have the oil filter here. Some people like to fill it beforehand with oil. So if you want to fill it, you can. I just put like maybe less than a quarter of the oil filter of oil in there, and then I rub some oil on the gasket so it's lubricated, and I rub some oil on the thread so it's lubricated and it goes in easy. and it gives it a nice seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then just screw the oil filter into the thread. Okay guys, so now you just grab an oil filter and pour your oil into the oil cap, and before you pour all your quarts into the oil, make sure there's no leaks. Go ahead, check down, pour some in, and then go check down that there's no leaks. If there's a leak, tighten up what you need to tighten up. If there's no leaks, go ahead, continue filling it up to its requirement, and that's it. You lower your car down and your oil change is done.
I'm just all about this money, I don't think about no thighs. Girl, you don't know about me, so get off my fucking D. Born and raised in the dot, this is real as you gon' see. Girl, you don't know about me, so get off my fucking D.